It's Flip City Magazine, The Parodies, Special Edition, with savage send-ups of The Walking Dead, Star Trek Picard, Stranger Things, The Mandalorian, Guardians of the Galaxy, and more from the first 4 years of Flip City. Get Flip City The Parodies free when you subscribe in print at flipcitymag.com. The world's best satire magazine, and never, ever woke.
The Madness Comic Network and Comic Related Madness proudly presents Madness Tuesday Morning Brew. Tune in to our content on Comic Talk with Pops Van Zandt on YouTube.
Good morning. It is 2025 here on the Tuesday Morning Brew. Hi, Arlise. Happy New Year, my dear. Love ya. I just made a whole batch of macaroons, so I was thinking of you the other day. I always giggle that everybody's like Laurie and Path, and Arlise is like Laurie and macaroons. By the way, I'm laughing at you in the background, Joe. It's going to be a hot minute, so don't fall asleep. I can see you. It's good. It's fine. I hope you all had a great New Year's. We are back at it. And I'll tell you, today the kids went back to school finally. And I feel like I can get back to work. It's just so hard when everybody's here in the house tripping all over each other and you're trying to get stuff done. But we're going to be getting some stuff done. Oh, did you like that? I just released the new one yesterday. Yeah, I did one over Christmas and I hung on to the video for a while because, hey, Lou, because I didn't want to spoil the Christmas surprise just in case someone came across it and was like, aren't you getting so I did a gorgeous rebind of Gone Girl, which was a Christmas present. And it turned out really nice. And I hope that person will love it and cherish it for the rest of their life because it's super nice. What else? Let's see. Macaroons. We made tamales over Christmas. I made a crap ton of cookies, all that good stuff. And all this new stuff is coming for Path of the Pale Rider. I don't know if you can see my gorgeous new shirt. It's a Big James on black, and he's a multicolor. This one's long sleeve. I needed something long sleeve, but I can make this in short sleeve. And I got a couple new designs. I have a red one that's the Santa Claus moment of sanity. Are you sure you came to the right? It's okay. It's all right, Lou. I can be your source of sanity. That's saying something, but that's all right. So I have the Christmas tree, the one that's covered in zombie parts from Santa Claus. So I have that. I have actually, I think 2 new hoodies. So I have the yellow hoodie. I have a black hoodie with the angel and skeleton kind of with the wings called the Divide. I have that one coming in a hoodie or a t-shirt. And I think I'm going to do Big Boy James in a hoodie, like a light blue, maybe like a baby blue. Anyway, I just want to remind people that you can still sign up for Path of the Pale Rider issues 1 through 6. This is pre-launch. We're signing up. We are launching on February 1st, and we're going to do the whole thing. And I got some really cool exclusives for the people that show up early and grab them. So if you have been paying attention, since I've been binding books, I'm going to have a bound book on there. I think it's going to be Jurassic Park. I'm also have the mug. One of these. I'm keeping the green one for myself, guys. I'm keeping it. But this blue one will be the first one up for grabs. And I'm going to make more of these in different colors. But every single one will be unique. Did you see? There's stuff on the inside and then stuff on the bottom too. So these are made by me. They're not mass produced. You can't get them anywhere else. These are lovingly crafted by myself. So there's those. What else? Oh, the hot sauce. So we're going to have our regular hot sauce. We have the sampler pack, and we have single bottle available in the add-on. Thanks, Arlise. And then we're also going to have 6 bottles of the Jack's Revenge. So if you remember from the last campaign, we did the smash and slice and smash, whatever. I murdered a jackfruit, right? And y'all named him Jack the Ripper. And so I made hot sauce from Jack the Ripper. So this is now Jack's Revenge on you. So you get to consume the one that you named and then we plotted to kill. So there's only 6 bottles of that. So I limited that to 1 per person because it's so good. I'm even considering making it again. Hey, Glenn. Good morning or afternoon for you. So there's that. So there's a ton of stuff to show up early for when this campaign launches. So far, no one has unseated the Singularity backer. That person has gotten every single Singularity. So I'm still every time we launch another one, I'm waiting for someone to unseat the Singularity. And then of course we have options to be drawn into the comic again. We have Immortality is back. I know, live in 2025. It's crazy just to be alive in 2025. And then also 5 spots to have a sketch cover drawn by Gilbert with POTPR characters of your choice. So there's a ton of really good stuff coming. In case y'all didn't see the completed main cover, here it is. Woo! I don't know. Did you see it? Do you see it all? Poor Jude. Something's happening. And also, if you look on the left side, there's a bowl for Sad Pancake. We're not going to let that one go. So there's that. Of course, we have variant covers. We have of course, the William Russell. He went full on zombie. And if you look at this guy's shirt, he's got Heartstop and jalapeno sauce logo on his shirt with Big James. And then we have the Sad Pancake. I don't know. Is it considered cannibalism if we eat Jack the Ripper? I don't think so. Because we murdered him and then we eat him and then he's here for revenge. So I think it's coming full circle, don't you think? But I saved those. I could have taken them to some Comic-Cons and sold them because my hot sauce always does great in person. But I saved them for you guys because I think the people that watch the show and the people that understand the significance of the slice and dice are the ones that would appreciate the Jack's Revenge. So I saved it specifically for you guys. Oh, I know. Well, we don't have the Shaun of the Dead one as a cover. We could make that as a print. We could do that. This is the print. We could do that. Yeah, absolutely I could. I think that would be wonderful. I'm going to do it. So we'll take off the, like the super backer and whatever, and just do like a 4x6 or a 4x6 glossy or matte of the Shaun of the Dead one with the Path of the Pale Rider logo. I think that would be cool. Okay, Chris, you sold me. And see, this is why we have to listen to our audience, is because people want the things, right? Anyway, enough about me. I want to show off one quick thing before we bring in our guests. This is Corissa Grant's campaign. If you haven't hopped on this yet, what the hell? There's 2 more people that look. She just got a backer while we flipped over to it. So she needs 2 more to break 100 backers in her first 24 hours. Let's help her get there. This campaign has really taken off. There's a ton of cool stuff going on this one. If you haven't gone through, she has journals where you can follow along with the story and collect things. You know, she has plushies and stickers and 3D printed everything super cool. You just have to go shopping. So spend some time going through this one so you don't miss anything, and give it a boost. Let's see how far it can go in that first 24 hours. Obviously, I'm a backer on this one. I always am. So, anywho, enough about me. Let's bring in our guest today. We actually have 2 guests, you guys. Amazing. So I'd like to introduce them. There's Jesse Sosa. Hello, good morning. And our friend who's been so patiently waiting to do this gag. And I was like, should I talk longer?
It's so cold, Laurie. It's just so cold here.
I know.
I know you're further north in Texas than I am. Both of y'all are, but it's still just too cold. And so can you tell this is my wife, so it won't even close on me?
That's even better, Joe. That's hilarious. I was wondering, I'm like, is he gonna fall asleep if I take him on?
Hey, in my defense, that first time I came on, I did not fall asleep.
That's good. Oh my gosh, Jesse, where are you in Texas? Because I know a lot of times like when you look at a Kickstarter, I was looking at your guys' preview page and it said Dallas. Are you in Dallas area?
Yeah, I'm in Dallas.
In Dallas?
Yeah, Frisco, which is a suburb of Dallas.
Dude, I'm in Prosper. I'm across the street from you.
Awesome.
How have I never seen you? I mean, like, I feel like our paths should have crossed at some point.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. Like, I'm pretty sure I bought some hot sauce from you. I didn't know. Yeah, because I'm a hot sauce guy, and I remember being at a convention and seeing hot sauce, and I was like, "Oh, sweet!" So I just grabbed a bunch, and I was like,
"And he didn't pay you for them." He didn't say that part.
It was, and I can't remember which show it was, but I remember just buying a bunch of hot sauce, and I was just like, "Yeah, this one has me," because I love hot sauce. Right now there's like I'd say probably about like 25 bottles of hot sauce out there. Yeah.
See, and this is why Arlise and I run into each other all the time too, because I do cons and Arlise is there. So I love it. Yeah, and John Westhoff, you're not wrong, man. It's like 4 states. A friend of mine just moved from California to Texas, and he was like, I think we're close by. And I looked it up and I was like, you're like 4.5 hours away from me, dude.
Yeah. People don't.
I don't know what you consider close. I mean, you're closer than California, but
yeah, I think if you start in Brownsville and you go to the Panhandle, I think it's 24 hours exactly to drive.
Like, yeah. Drive for an entire day and still be in Texas. So yeah, there's a ton of creators here. We're just all spread out.
Yeah, I just did a small little convention down south back in my hometown, and that's an 8-hour drive. I'm still kind of recovering from that a little bit because it was just nonstop. Like, I just wanted to get it over with. Usually I'll stop somewhere like in Austin or something and hang out with my friend or something like that, but this time I was just like, nah, I'm just gonna go straight.
Oh, real quick before
good morning, Ryan.
Laurie.
Good morning.
Laurie, I don't know how you did this, but you mentioned Sad Pancake earlier.
Yeah.
And I was just like, how did you know that people were going to go crazy over Crypto the Super Dog, and you have a dog and a Kickstarter coming up? Your marketing is just, it's prophetic.
I don't know, man. I just had, like, some people think I'm a prophet because I predicted the pandemic as well, apparently, with my book. But it just happens that way. Like, when we had that yellow and black and red Big James cover that was issue 3, we released it, and then that Friday they dropped the trailer for Cocaine Bear.
Wow.
So we just have good timing. I don't know. Shit's weird. Sorry, excuse my language. Things are weird. Because when I write things and then things happen, I was like, we did it first, man. Like we released Sad Pancake and Crypto came out that Friday. And I was like, here we go again.
You're wherever you write on, it's like the Death Note or something. Everybody be careful what you put on there.
I don't want to wish ill on anybody. That's a good thing. I only have good intentions for everybody. So let's hope that all those things come to fruition as well. Speaking of, well, and usually we start the show with like your origin story and like how you got into comics. And Joe, you've been on the show, but I haven't had a chance to harass Jesse yet.
Harass away. He deserves it.
So, Jesse, I would love to hear, because you wrote the series for TeenStrike and you also color it too.
Yeah, no, I'm real sleepy right now.
Wake up, drink some coffee. It's the brew. What are you drinking? Ice?
Yeah.
All right.
It's
Well,
the-
then I'm going to switch tactics here and say, Joe, tell me how you met Jesse.
Oh, this is
No,
it's just one simple sentence. First time I met Jesse was in my bed.
I'm sorry. What?
Yeah, exactly. You heard me right.
Carrie says
Now I
Jesse
get-
looks like he needs his bed. Were you up late? Were you coloring late last night?
I'm just, I'm like one of those
Not a morning
big,
person.
big sleepy animals. What are they called?
Snorlax.
Oh, let's Snorlax. You're a Snorlax.
I mean, I was talking about like a real life animal.
Oh. We don't want
Sloth?
those on this show. No, nerd
Koalas?
stuff only.
No, they're from Australia, man.
Koalas?
Like, no, they're the big
Sloth?
square ones.
The big-
Either way,
Big
they're big
square ones.
sleepy animals.
Capybara?
Yeah, no, they're from Australia.
I don't
the
know.
sloth.
Yeah, I'm
Everybody's
not.
guessing. It's like, is it a
He's waking
sloth?
up.
Is it a sloth? Is it a sloth?
You guys are hitting me with so many things.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't expecting to be up for another 45 minutes, and then Joe's like, "Hey, are
Get
you
up.
ready for the podcast at 10 a.m.?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about 10 a.m.?" Corissa said, or sorry, I'm on Carissa's page right now. Laurie said 11 a.m.
Eastern Standard
And-
Time.
No,
Yeah.
you said 11 a.m.
Eastern
I'm from
Standard Time.
Texas.
Where
Texas.
do you think Laurie is?
No,
I have to
It
say
does-
11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time because we have people on the show from the entire country and sometimes from
Yeah.
the UK. So I just always say 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But
nothing exists outside of Texas. Like it's just every time I see EST, it just means estimation. So I was like, okay, so somewhere around 11 a.m. That's cool. I could do that.
well,
I
I
got no
appreciate
time to-
Joe then because he was like, "Can you wake your butt up and get on the show?"
Mhm.
You're like,
Joe
fine."
knows me really well. No, I'm absolutely not a morning person. Like I'm a night owl. I wasn't up too late last night. I have been up
Cool.
recently. Like I got a machine going here, so it's just
What machine?
flipping out the comics, like a page a day, kind of thing.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to,
Mm.
yeah, I have been staying up kind of late. But no, I'm good. I just I need to like get it going, right? Like, so keep asking me these questions, and they might be slow to start, but
Well, I'm sure they
We'll
still
get
want to
there
know
eventually.
about my
yeah, by about 3 or 4 p.m. I'll be answering your questions real
3
fast.
p.m. I don't know if we'll be live anymore, but hey, I mean, at least we'll get some
Special.
answers.
I'll be real good.
special edition.
So
But
Jesse,
no,
let's go back. Maybe I'll ask an
All right.
easier one. Instead of asking like, tell me your whole journey. Did you read comic books as a kid?
Yeah.
Which ones?
Oh man. All right. So
Spider-Man.
So I am a child of the 90s, right? So it is
Okay.
going to be basically any answer I could give to that is going to be, image this, image that, because that's what it was.
That's me too.
If it is Spawn, of course, but the problem was, back home, South Texas, the lower Rio Grande Valley, there just was at the time no comic shops whatsoever. The closest comic shop I believe was probably in McAllen, but we're kids, we couldn't drive out there, so
Right.
it was basically whatever we could get. So at the time, I remember, I grew up on with Dan Jurgens, all his DC stuff. I became a real big fan of Booster and Beetle, the Super Buddies, Justice League International, because my brother was living in Kingsville, and then there was a time where he was living in Edinburgh, and he would bring me comics, and that's what he liked to read. So that's kind of what I fell into. So big Booster Beetle fan here. All that era of late 80s comics, which then evolved into the 90s obsession with Jim Lee and all Tom McFarlane and all those guys, like Joe here with Wildstorm. Yeah, I loved anything that was DC. But out of the stuff that I really like sat down and read, and purposely after enough time, I was like, yeah, no, I really enjoy this. I really enjoyed Gen 13. That's where I was introduced into artists like Humberto Ramos and Adam Warren. And that's kind of what started guiding me on my, I was already on an art path, but that's really what kind of did it to me. When I opened the pages and saw like Humberto Ramos's run on Deviate, I my mind was blown away because everything looked a certain way at the time. Even as much as I love Jim Lee and all that stuff, Humberto Ramos, when I opened up his artwork, my mind was blown. Like, first off, I mean, he was a Latino like me, so that was like spoke volumes to me. But another thing was just his stylization of characters, and then of course at that point in time, when I started in college, which is I graduated in '97, so I didn't start college until spring of '98. You had Mad and all those guys like starting to come up. The stylized comic boom was starting to happen, and that really got me. So that's kind of what I read. I fell out of comics for a bit, and then got back in with Darkest Night, or Blackest Night, sorry, at the DC event, and that pulled me in. Jeff Johns and all those guys did a fantastic job with that. And then of course I fell out of comics again when I moved to Brazil, and then when I came back, I started getting into indie comics a lot. Like I'm a super backer on Kickstarter because it's just like there's so much great stuff up there, and like right now I just backed Corissa Grant.
Did you go to Carissa's? Yes. Is she at 100?
Yeah.
Look.
No, but
she's at 100. Woo!
I got the email in the mornings. I back her stuff, and I saw it, and I was like, yeah, I definitely want that Danny Chu that cover. Yeah. So I love that. I love that stuff. Like I got.
We call that the brownie cover.
Yeah, I got the. I can't. Well, yeah. I always get the hot girl covers. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
Super great. But yeah, I found some good stuff there, and I love it.
Yeah, she always has a ton of things on her. She puts a ton of work into it. So I want this one to just go forever. What's your
absolutely.
thoughts on Symphony Comics? What's Symphony Comics? I'm not familiar.
No, I'm not dozing off. I was letting everybody know that we exist right now. I was posting.
Oh.
Carrie says I was dozing off.
He was just focused. He was focused on doing things.
If I do this and cover my face.
Yeah, if his face is missing, then we don't know. And it's what do you call it? Schrodinger's box, where he could be awake or he could be asleep.
It is a cat that I'm wearing, so.
Yeah,
so I don't.
It's Schrodinger's cat. Yes.
Yeah, between Joe and I, like we got the whole 24-hour spectrum covered. Like he's absolutely morning guy, but he'll be out by 10 p.m. where I'm just fully awake. So
and there's always work being done on your comic, right? It's like the sun never sets on.
I freaked him out when we went to the last con, and he was like, I literally just went out, and he was like, "Are you okay?" I'm gone. I was like, I've been working all day at a con. I'm done.
So I don't know Symphony Comics, but I haven't opened it. I will read this. This looks pretty interesting.
Oh.
Yeah, this looks like they've Comic Find Friday, new blog every Friday, first Friday of the month. So check that out. Thank you for that.
Good morning, Stanley Orchard. Hello, comic peeps, and good morning. I love it. Someone's had their coffee. I refilled my coffee.
Mine.
I eat these little comic. Oh shit! Oh wait, no, yeah. I eat these little coffee candies. They're from Brazil.
Yeah, are they caffeinated coffee candies though?
Yeah. They're made from like coffee beans and whatnot. But I don't drink coffee. I'm not really a big fan of it, or at least I haven't found one that really speaks to me. But these candies are amazing. These are good. If you ever are just wandering around and you see these like little coffee candies, hell yeah. I would recommend those.
And plus
sometimes
they're candy,
you just
so
need some caffeine. I'm gonna make that my new tag.
But yeah, I really did meet him first in my bed. Like,
okay, thank you. I was gonna go back to that. I was like, can you please explain what you said earlier of how he was in your bed?
Yeah. For people who are just coming in the chat, when they ask how did I meet Jesse, I always say the first time I met him was in my bed because it's true. But our other friend Roy, who works on our other book, How to Hunt a Hero. So him and Jesse went to high school together. I didn't meet them until college. Roy and I became roommates, and then so I ended up meeting Jesse, but just first over the phone. Well, I had gone from the weekend and I came back and he was visiting Roy, and I walked into my bedroom and he was asleep in my bed because I wasn't there. So he just decided to sleep in my bed. So
like
it truly
Goldilocks.
he was in my bed the first time I met him face to face, or, so yeah, he's been stuck with me ever since. He's probably like, God, I should have slept in somebody else's bed that night.
You're like, oh yeah, you're gonna
How
sleep
many-
in my bed. Now we're
many-
friends for life. Take
Yeah,
that.
how many times has he said that?
Yeah, it's one of those rare moments in life. Like, you meet someone, you're compatible with them, and
Yeah.
it's just lifelong friend after that. So it's always good. You
I
never know
but
who you're
that-
gonna meet in this life.
Or in your bed.
exactly. But I mean, like, how did that conversation even start? Like, hey, dude, what you doing?
I just left him alone. I
help
let him
you?
wake up. I let him wake up naturally, just like any wild animal. So
And then you're like, don't poke the bear.
exactly.
A wombat. That's what I am. I'm a wombat.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
right. It's coming. It's like all the little guys
No,
in
it's
there.
one of those things where you have to like
firing off.
stop thinking about it, and then it shows up in your brain.
well, he took that coffee candy. See what happened? So take like 5 more of those, please. We still got an hour and a half.
It's all little guys. We're gonna be in at 11 a.m. like you said, before you went to bed. So they're just getting into the office right now.
If you eat 5 more of those, your drawing either gets significantly better or significantly worse.
No, that's what stabilization's for. You just.
That's nice. Oh, did
Okay.
you guess wombat? Woohoo!
Yeah, I was about to say I saw it earlier.
2 points
Yeah.
to carry. 2 points.
The little reading guys weren't in line, or I probably would have seen it.
It just got
More on.
lost in the chat. The chat's awake this morning too.
But okay, so let's
Right.
do this. All right, let's start. All right, let's do it.
30 minutes in.
20 minutes
Yeah,
in,
let's do the
28
theme
minutes
song.
in. Jesse's
Let's
ready
do
to
the theme
start the
song.
show. All right, let me
Like-
play the
like-
intro. Hold on. Ready? Okay.
The madness.
I'm just kidding.
I'm gonna say technically I've never seen the intro twice because both times my eyes have been closed. I've had to rewatch.
Both times he's been like, I'm going to do this thing. And then he sits there for 5 minutes while I talk.
Patience.
Patience.
So
Cool.
you
Peace
are
out.
in the area. So yeah, so Joe sent me a
Yeah.
photo. I think that you had posted with a bunch of comics out in your front yard, right? Was that it?
My
Was that
front yard?
was that Laurie? Joe?
I don't know about my front yard.
No, I mean she smashes fruit and other items in her.
I do that in the backyard so
Yeah.
my neighbors don't report me to the HOA.
Yeah, there was
I
someone
light them
local.
on fire and then I smash them.
Uh-huh.
There was
This
someone
time we
local,
even
and
used googly eyes. What's that, Jesse?
no, I was just saying there was someone local that was getting a lot of comics, and I was like, I gotta go just steal their comics off their front yard because they just kind of like they were out there. But it's great to meet some local
was it-
people here.
Oh, I know what he's talking
Yeah,
about.
man.
When your last Kickstarter came in, didn't you have a bunch of boxes in your front?
Oh yeah, they were on my
Yeah,
front porch.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
posted
Talking
that
about-
picture. Yeah,
yeah.
I
Yeah,
know,
and I
but
was
we
like-
were looking for him, and then my husband, where were we? We drove off somewhere, and I was like, we got to get back real quick because my comics are, coming.
Mhm.
And my husband,
Yeah.
we drove by, and he was like, oh, there's a bunch of boxes on our porch. I was like, oh my god, like we have to go home now. Like I need to go get them. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm like I could flip
That's
all
the
that stuff at
homeowners
the flea market.
association, and they don't like it when I smash things in my backyard. So I don't tell them. I just do it and clean it up, and then life is up. Some people have suggested we use M80s or shotguns. The homeowners association would probably send me a nice, sternly written letter if I did one of the above. So we won't do that. We will continue to use sharp and pointy things to dismember fruits and vegetables. I have no idea what we're gonna do next. We'll have to
Oh.
figure that out.
Just go to the grocery store, you'll find something.
Well, I mean, we've done pumpkin, we've done watermelon, we've done pineapple and jackfruit. So we need a new victim.
Go to Central.
Um,
Y'all have Central Market up there. Go there. They usually have exotic stuff. So
I'm not doing a durian. No.
yeah, you will get kicked out of your.
Yeah. My neighbors would be like, someone died in their backyard.
That stuff is gross.
Yeah, we're not doing it.
Well, it tastes all right, dried, but it's really gross. Like
I
live.
have never tried it.
Yeah, it's very off-putting. But yeah, no, it's great to meet someone here in the
Yeah.
really close, honestly.
Even
Yeah,
though
like
even though he threatened
literally.
to steal your comics off your porch.
Yeah. Next time I
Yeah,
post a picture, I'll post it and then wait for Jesse to show up.
yeah. I mean, and then maybe he's not going to stop me. You'll
You
find
know.
me at the Prosper Flea Market on the weekend, on first Mondays or whenever it is, selling comics out there.
You're like, those are my comics, man. What?
Oh.
You just see him pick them up and run.
Like,
They catch
no,
me.
no hablo inglés. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yo hablo español. It's okay. I can.
It's
speak.
gonna cross out path and just put street of the Pale Rider. Like, this clearly different, you know.
It's the same thing. It's the
Uh,
walking trail of Pale Rider.
Yeah,
Hiking trail.
the studio I work at is here out of Frisco. Gearbox Software. We're down on Main Street, so
On Main
that's
Street?
that's how I found myself here in the Frisco area.
Cool.
I make video games as a profession. Like, that's my main job.
Really?
Comics are my fun little thing that I do on the side.
Yeah,
There's so many of us that make comics that want to make video games too.
Yeah, you guys don't know any better. That's why.
Well, that's why we don't actually dare to do it ourselves. We're like, dear Jesse, and you're like, just don't do it.
It's a blessing and a curse. I mean, I've been making video games for 24 years now,
Oh my gosh.
professionally.
Yeah.
Professionally, unprofessionally, I've been modding. If I include my modding days, it's been 26 years. No, 27 years now. Ever since '98, basically. So it's just one of those that's what I fell into. You had asked about my origin stories, and that's kind of what it was. So I grew up in a small town called Rio Hondo, Texas, way down South Texas, and that's where I met Roy through one of our mutual friends, and he liked to draw, I liked to draw, and then just before we knew it, we were both drawing shared characters and building shared universes and all that. You know how all that stuff goes. And then we came up with the comic that I'm working on now. It's just TeenStrike. It was basically a reflection of everything that was going on around us at the time. This was the mid. I graduated in '97. He graduated in '95, and our friend graduated. Or sorry, '97, '96, and '95. That was the three of us that we graduated. And so that was like the early to mid '90s, which I'll always argue was kind of a magical time in media, because it was just nothing quite like it. Everyone likes the '80s, and that's fantastic, but the '90s itself, really colorful.
I agree. Like this is one of my biggest complaints of like 2024 is that we didn't really get any original new ideas. Not even like a book that was like maybe like Bird Box, but I think that was 2023. You know what I mean? Yeah. We didn't get anything. All we got was reboots. And so like if you look at the 90s and what was produced in the 90s, it was just an amazing time where like creators could create. And there wasn't someone at gatekeeping like, do you have a pre-planned audience for this? Well, no, but look at the stories. People will come,
Yeah. And that's the big, huge problem. And we see that a lot in the game industry itself.
Yeah.
It's once you get to a certain size, especially with studios, when you're living in a capitalist environment and all you're doing is answering to shareholders, you're not answering to your audience or anything like that. You're answering to the shareholders. Shareholders only know money. They want in and out. So if they put in X amount of money, they want to get out with X amount of money, and they don't care how you do it. They just want to do it. And I've seen this a lot. I've seen creativity in the game industry get passed over for, okay, now reskin it with this IP, and so you have to take this new creative IP, throw it out, and replace it with existing IPs. Like for instance, this is how Nintendo operates. Nintendo, they have an internal research and development department, and they're not in there saying, "Oh, we're gonna make the next Mario game." No, they're in there making a fun game. They're just playing. They're just like, "Oh, this is really fun. Check this out." Smash Brothers, which is one of the largest brands right now. That started off as just Sakurai and all these guys over here. making a fighting game that they were just kind of like, oh, this is kind of fun, like it was just some programmers like they were like, hey, check this out, and they kind of started developing it, and they took it to Nintendo to say, hey, we think we could do something with this, and Nintendo's like, put Nintendo characters in it. They were like, okay, that's the only way that stuff's going to get made or released is if you put Nintendo characters in it. They don't want a new character, they want the old characters, because the old characters are easy to predict. You can monetize that and say, hey, that's gonna, at the very least, we have an installed base that's gonna make this much money, go. And it's very sad because Nintendo is still one of the more creative companies out there. But even when you can look at that and decide and realize that even they operate that way, it's really sad. Like, we're just not going to see any of that stuff again. I can confidently say that it will be a long while before that pendulum swings back around. But
so
it's
what's
not going
the
to happen.
answer then, guys? I don't have the answer. I certainly don't. But then what, how do creators like you and me and Joe, how do we get our story out there when it's like regular publishing is tenuous at best? I mean, you hear horror stories about, paying up front for copies and you don't make any money on distribution, and it's like you got to pay for everything out of pocket. And yet it's like, do we Kickstarter forever? How do we get off of that merry-go-round? I don't know. What do you guys think?
The simple answer is you're doing it right now, right? Like this is how you do it. It is both easier, I believe. Granted, I'm just starting the whole indie comic thing, but through my observations through the entertainment industry and stuff, it is both easier and more difficult now than ever to put out a new IP as an independent creator, because you can actually go. There's plenty of platforms. Put it out there. But it's also so difficult because there's so many platforms, and there's an old man saying that I like to say that is absolutely 100% true. Okay. Is that for anything, in this case, I'm going to use comic books. I'm going to say that there's a lot more comics nowadays than there were back when I was young, right? And no one can argue against that because it's true. Like, there's always more content being made. There will always be more content, comics now than there was yesterday, and you'll just get lost in the sea of all that, right? So it is hard. It is both. Two things can be true. It is the easiest it's ever been, plus the most difficult it's ever been to put out a new IP.
I think it's easy as a creator to put stuff out there. It is hard to get noticed, just because there's so many other options out there. So it's like you got to stand out somehow.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Joe. What were you?
No, I'm just gonna say, like with Kickstarter, for example, I guess just because once I've been in it, because I've technically been on the platform since 2012, but I didn't really get more active until closer to recent years. But there's still lots of people who love pop culture and whatnot that I'll mention Kickstarter and they're like, oh, what is that? And it's still not part of their. They could be the biggest pop culture fan in the world and could quote to you any IP or whatever, and they just don't have that on their radar. And and it still amazes me for how many people are on Kickstarter and how many campaigns get so much money, so many backers. But at the same time, that could also be like, well, then that means that there's still more people to reach. There's still more people to bring to this platform. Even when we first Kickstarted ours last year, there was people who were buying from our website, and I was like, oh, we're going to do a Kickstarter, and they're like, well, what's that? And I'm like, oh, well, I have to I know Jesse had to do that too with some friends and family. It's like, well, you got to make an account, and then you just go through here and you're pledging basically and buying it that way. Essentially, it's like how we explain it to them.
It's a hard sell.
Yeah. Because anytime you start off with, well, you have to make an account, a lot of people are like, well,
I don't want to make it. I don't want another password. I don't want to keep track of things.
I'll wait till it's on your website and then I'll just buy it there.
That's so hard. And every time we do a show when someone is running a campaign, I always tell our viewers, I'm like, this is the most important time for that creator. This is what guarantees that they make the book. This is what guarantees that you get good quality product. A lot of times people will wait for that website, but it's like unless we fund the campaign and sometimes surpass what the goal says it is, then you don't get that product at all. It's so important for those campaigns to get funded. There is another one I wanted to shout out, but I'll do it later. But there's a friend of mine who's running a campaign, and it's like, I just don't get it sometimes where, you know, some campaigns will really take off and then other ones don't. And it's either from the same creator or it's like, do people just not see this? It's good quality. It's art. The art's fabulous. The story's great. I've read the first issue. Like I know this is great. And it's like, why aren't people flocking to this?
Yeah. Well,
It's like, why do we struggle to get to $1,000 so that this person can print their books? I don't get it.
Well, take Corissa, for example. You're just talking about Corissa. Like I have loved watching her journey through this, you know, like how she started, how she's just a machine, just putting these out, you know. So she's built up that audience. So when you said that she's almost at 100 backers, I'm like, yeah, like I expect that at this point, you know. Well, you see, even when we've been talking, she already crossed.
Yeah, she crossed 100 while we were talking.
But
she's at 101. So
she has a lot of, you know, obviously reach and other platforms, and Facebook probably the most. I mean, you guys do your, you know, I know she does the Monday night,
the non-show.
You know, so yeah, so it's like
she just got another backer, 102.
Yeah. So
yeah, but she puts in the work consistently. And this is what I was telling her, because, you know, we all have that that feeling. Ghost Pepper. Hey buddy, I love ya. Did you see Jesse's shirt? By the way, Ghost Pepper is unpilled. Jesse's wearing a Tabasco shirt. So you're in good company. Hot Sauce Queen and Tabasco King over here. And Ghost Pepper unpilled. But, you know, anytime you launch a campaign, you feel like you question every single choice you've ever made in your life that led you to that point. That imposter syndrome is a thing, right? And she launched, and I was like, this is going to be, and I told her this from the jump. I was like, this is going to be your biggest campaign yet. I can already tell, you know. And she was like, well, this, that. And I was like, no. I'm like, shut up, that stupid imposter. He's the imposter spaghetti monster. Shut him up. I'm like, you put in all the hard work and you've made smart choices, and this is the one that's going to take off. And sometimes you need that other person from the outside to look at it and be like, Laurie, shut up. You know, launch your campaign and it's going to go, because we always feel like you push the button and it's just going to be crickets.
I mean,
hey, Woody.
Generally, like if you allow me to brag a little bit. But not like in a bad way. But when it comes to imposter syndrome, like look at my career, right? I've been making games for 24 years. I fly around the world doing toxic conventions and conferences. I'm considered an expert in my field. I'm very well known. I've done a lot of stuff in my industry. I have like almost 60 titles under my belt. Yeah. I have imposter syndrome all the time. I can't escape it. You know, I can look at all my accomplishments, all my awards and things that I've won during doing game industry stuff and just general art stuff, art direction stuff and everything. And I question myself every single day. When I'm coloring my comic right now and I'm just thinking, I'm like, it has to be perfect. Like if it's not perfect, someone's going to call me out on this, or like I'm battling, the biggest demon I'm battling is myself, you know? Yeah. And then when I receive artwork or something from someone else, not to disparage or to dunk on anyone else, but I look at sometimes and I'm like, man, like they didn't color every single like pixel. And I'm like, I think I'll be okay. And then that kind of helps me out a little bit. And then I fall right back into it, where it's just like, no, it's got to like be perfect. And I got to make sure everything's aligned. And I'm going in there and I'm changing my artist. Like he's got some wrinkles and I'm like, okay, I'm going to change that wrinkle here, fix it. Oh, you forgot a watch. This character's a watch. Someone's going to call me out. Says, oh, this character doesn't have a watch in these two panels. You know, like
my editor's on that, dude. Yeah, my editor's like, this stupid wristband. I think in our first and second issue, Jude had this like bracelet. And she was like, it's at like every other panel. Make up your damn mind. Like, is it on or is it not? You know what I mean? So
yeah, I just did it right now.
Yeah,
one of my characters has jelly bands, and she's got 7, and he only drew 6. So I'm like, okay, and I copy and I have to put it, and I'm like, because that's part of her character. Like I'm a character artist and designer and everything. That's real important to me. But yeah, no, it's the imposter syndrome is awful. It's one of the craziest things I've ever battled, and I have social anxiety to put on top of that. So again, like every second Thursday we go out to Victory Park down in Plano, and we do a game dev beer night, and it's a bunch of game developers from all around the
when is
Metroplex.
this? I'm gonna crash it.
You can. I mean,
You're like, I got
I'm
comics.
I always invite fellow artists, but it's one of those where we're all there, and I have my group of people that I sit with, and we kind of like huddle in this one little corner in a little circle, and people come and sit with us. They're like, oh my god, they'll come and sit down, and we can't get up and mingle because we also just feel like we just got in the industry. Time passes by so fast
It does.
that I still feel like I'm 7 years in, not 24, which is insane.
Not nuts.
Yeah, I hate it. It's an awful demon. And
Well, time is really time is such an interesting thing in comics. I feel like if you are consistent in your product and you put in the work over time, your success will come. I really feel that way. You know what I mean? If you have a quality product, it takes time for people to find you and grow. It's different for everybody, but time is also, a commodity. It's like, how much time do you spend doing different aspects of the things that you do, and how much do you pay someone else to do to free you up to do the other things that only you can do? So it's just, time is such an interesting thing to me when it comes to comics.
Absolutely. The pandemic didn't help anything. Like, it just made time not matter anymore.
It was like so many, yes, it's like we actually have a problem now where we can't gauge time effectively because so many historical events happened.
Well, I work from home, so like I have like these big sun blocking curtains and everything to for the summers here, and my windows face the setting sun.
Oh god.
So I am constantly in darkness. Like, this is as bright as it ever is because the kitchen light's on. But this is as bright as it gets in here because all this light that you see is coming from my computer monitors. I have like 6 monitors, and because I have my.
I told you.
I'm a multitasker. I'm a multitasker, but it's one of those where it means nothing to me anymore. And I remember when we started TeenStrike, when we turned it into a comic, and it was like, I started writing it. This was 2023 when I started writing the script, and I was like, oh my god! And I did the entire timeline because I'm that organized. I'm like, the entire timeline, and I'm like, oh shit, this first arc is gonna finish at the beginning of 2026. I'm like, that is forever. And now I'm in 2025. I'm like, oh shit, like I gotta hurry up.
Yeah. Hey, I want to bring this up because we've been talking about TeenStrike, but now I want to start really asking some questions about it. And one of the things that that you guys both do is like all ages. Like, I would consider this all ages, right? Or what would you say the audience is for this, Jesse?
Early teen.
Early teen. Okay.
Yeah, like in the first issues, the kids go out and they drink, and there's like there's like teen antics,
Yeah. But that's a hard sell in today's day and age. Isn't that crazy that the Isaac and Gabe love this book?
I don't know, man. Like, the easiest book I've ever had to sell is Joe's. It's just, hey, it's an all ages book, and parents are like, oh, really? Like, and I'm like, yeah, if we notice that they have kids, like Joe, you can go into like how we pitch it. Like, your experience is selling Malia.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, it's easy too because ours, I think, like we talked a little bit last time I was on, Laurie, it's like that all ages was always baked into everything me and my wife have done. When we had a comic and game shop, it was very family oriented because that's the way it is here in our community. And so now just not having that anymore and going to cons, that's still what we're sharing and projecting it. So it's like, like Jesse said, if somebody comes and they have young kids, I'm like, this is an all ages title. Here's the pitch. And, so you don't have, and I literally had one mother tell me, oh, thank God, it's like I don't have to think about what, and the funny thing is, even though, we have a teen title as well, and obviously TeenStrike is teen, I have had one parent where, I was showing them all the stuff, and her son, if I had to guess, was maybe 10, and he kept wanting to go for the teen rated comic that we had. And she was like, oh, I think you should try this all ages one, and she's kind of looking at me. I'm like, yeah, your mom has a say. Like, that's why we rate them the way we do. Because if parents are, they have this idea, I guess, in their head, maybe it's the movie ratings, maybe to them, oh, well, that's probably more PG-13. So, you know, my
Right.
son's 10, maybe I don't want him reading that yet, but just give him a few more years and I will, you know? So yeah, it is important. It's a different audience too.
Hmm.
Um, you know, I think you said last time a story of people coming up asking you about Path of the Pale Rider. You're like, oh no, it's R-rated, you know. So
I was like, maybe. I'm like, how old is your child? I'm like, okay. I'm like, I'm gonna be honest with you. We have these triggers in it. I'm like, it's 100% up to you to make the decision of what you want your child to read. But this is what you're gonna find in this book, right?
Mhm.
And most of the time, the parents are like, maybe not yet, depending on the age. But I've had some that are like, he's 13, it's fine. And I'm like,
You know,
okay, like as long as they know the difference, you know what I mean? They can make good choices because there's like self-harm and there's
Yeah, all you can do is make them aware, and after that,
yeah.
it's up to them.
And I
So.
mean, like, I'll gladly take your money, but you're gonna have to pay for his therapy when he gets older.
yeah, like being a child of the '80s, right? Like growing up with Goonies
Yeah,
and
that's
all that stuff. Like
yes,
that's the thing that for me it's not a big deal. Like, but you know, I know I'm not raising your kids, right? So everyone's different. But I'll always say it's early teen, right? If I say T for teen, but I think our story is easily a kid that's 11 years old can easily digest it because we're not literally going like, here's beer, here's some tequila, right? The characters aren't. They're just like, hey, I need a drink, right? And they'll run off, and next thing you know, our character Roy, he's kind of like hiccuping or something like that, you know. But we don't ever really like outright just say it,
yeah,
and things like that, you know. And it's not dancing around the subject, but it's also not important to the story either. So
right. I
it's not
mean,
something that we have to directly call out.
teen antics is the epitome of being a teenager, let's be
Yep.
honest. So, I mean, it's important to the story as in they're teenagers and they're going to do teen stuff, but
Mhm.
other than that, probably not. But yeah, everybody, that's the link. Here we are. I was sorry. I had it up and then I took it down because Joe was talking and I realized that we just covered him completely up with the link. But
It's
this
all
is
right.
the link to sign up for pre-launch.
Yeah, and
Yay.
if I can add to that pre-launch page, so as we discussed earlier in the pre-show, um, I am taking this is already supposed to launch, but I'm actually going
Yeah.
to boost this up. And right now, the pre-launch page is for issue number 3, but I decided that I'm going to make it for issue number 3 and 4. So my Kickstarters are now just going to be double issues.
Yeah.
Issue number 4 is already edited, and we'll be starting getting lettered here pretty soon. So that'll be finished hopefully before the end of the month.
Wow.
And I never do a Kickstarter unless the books are ready because I don't want to be like these other creators who and I don't mean just comic creators. I specifically talk about video game creators
Oh.
who try and sell you on an idea and a promise and then just never do anything with your money and walk away with it. Like I never want to do that. Which is one of the reasons I think Kickstarter is tainted in a way because there's been so many people that have dropped the ball on giving the consumer and their backers what they want. And I promised myself way back in like 2011, 2012 that I would never be that person.
Right.
So I never take anything there unless it's ready to go. And this just helps me pay for some things like the printing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
At the same time, I want to give everyone confidence that this entire series is paid for already. You know, luckily I work on a game called Borderlands, and that gives us some good royalties. And instead of like buying video games like you see back here, I decided, you know what, I'm just not going to buy stuff, and I'm just going to put that money towards the book. This is my new hobby, and so that's how I fund it. So
that's amazing, and that's what we do. It's like people are like, "Oh, you make all the money on the Kickstarter." I'm like, and all of it goes back to the comic. And if it's not
Mhm.
this comic, it's the next one. You know what I mean? Like this is all we do is turn the money around and put it back in there. Hey, Dustin.
Yeah, since he mentioned Borderlands, he does have a blink and you'll miss it cameo in the Borderlands movie.
Do you
I'm in
really?
Mhm.
Yep.
I'm sorry, I don't think anybody saw that movie, but now we'll go see it just to see Jesse.
Yeah, I'm in there.
12 years plus for Rob Liefeld.
Oh yeah, well that's
Brigade.
Yep.
Gosh.
And some people were
TeenStrike. Let's talk
forgiving
about
of that stuff.
TeenStrike. Can you it says I'll read the blurb and then you guys, I would love to hear you guys talk about
Sure.
it. So it's a group of friends from South Texas, whoop whoop, form a superhero team while trying to balance life, love, and high school.
Yep.
You pronounce that Oriale? Let's go.
Órale.
Orale, let's go. Thank you. I knew I was going to butcher it. I don't really speak Spanish. I lied.
All right, so yeah, we can go into it. I mentioned it briefly. This is actually the 30th anniversary of us starting this story idea. Back
Wow.
in 1994. It's either 1994 or late 1993. We're gonna do some research to figure that out. But as I had mentioned before, back then, nerd culture, pop culture, that wasn't a really big thing, especially in South Texas where it's all football all the time. People love Dragon Ball. They love Dragon Ball, but they're always just like, that's different. It's Dragon Ball because that was a big thing. But Pokemon was barely coming out when I graduated, which was in '97. And I think Pokemon is what changed the perspective of the world. So our friends were getting picked on constantly, and us too, because we liked cartoons. We talked about Batman the animated series and all this stuff, and everyone would pick on us because we weren't cool kids. And so my friend Roy started drawing himself in these situations where he was getting picked on and he had like superpowers. So like they pick on him and then he just he draw himself like punching the lockers and caving them in, and everyone's like backing off of him. And it was a way that we could express ourselves on how we would handle these situations if we were that. And it just started kind of, we were sitting, and I remember very specifically, we sat there, we were like, oh, what if we were superheroes? So we made a list of all our friends, and we were like, what would this person have? And we started making the list, and we started drawing them, and it just started going and going and going, right? And so by the time Roy was graduating and I was graduating, we were just constantly drawing this all over. It was meant for no one else but ourselves. But we had stories. Our friends who weren't artists were writing stories for us. They're like, hey, I got a story. Here you go. And I still have them all collected and stuff like that. And it was one of those fun little things that we did. We would kind of talk about it. When I first met Joe, I drove all the way down to Kingsville. We were there, and Roy and I would stay up, and we would be drawing TeenStrike, and we'd be drawing, and we'd be like, and he'd be incorporating some college stuff. He's like, hey, I met this person. Oh, cool. And I remember I still have Joe's first draft of his story for our shared universe. And it's like, because he was like, hey, we're doing this, right? And we just bring in people that we like. And then fast forward to 2018, one of our really good friends from our friend circle that would help us write this stuff ends up passing away. And that was the first person in our immediate friend circle in our adult age that has passed away. And it hit us real hard. We didn't really know what to do. And I personally was lost for a couple of years, because this was literally one, if not my first friend I ever made. I've known him since I was 4 years old. And it was devastating. And I didn't know how to deal with this. And I drove down, I picked up Roy, drove down, picked up Joe. We went down to the funeral. We were just there for, what was it, Joe? Like literally 30 minutes. Yeah. And then I drove everyone back up, because that's the only time and that was it. Like I couldn't bring myself to go to that coffin. And it really destroyed me. It still is, like right now, it's like hard, but
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's hard. Yeah. It is,
Yeah, no, I can take over a little bit. Give Jesse.
Yeah, give him a minute.
Yeah, I mean,
here, we'll take this down for a second.
He's talking about our friend Jerry. So they all went to school together, like he mentioned, and so I actually got to meet Jerry kind of the same way, like in college, just kind of met him a few times and then on into adulthood. So, I obviously, thankfully, I always tell people I was fortunate enough to have a good group of friends twice in my life. Once in high school, I had a very similar group of friends, like what he's talking about. Yeah. And then I met these guys in college. So, I consider myself very fortunate that I got to be with these type of people twice over in my life, and obviously we're still friends all these years later, and yeah, that obviously, was harder for them because they knew him longer. And this story, like I said, has always been there. It was always cool to, like he was saying, Roy kind of introduced me to TeenStrike first, and then they have other ideas too. And that's what he was talking about when when he said that I kind of took it all and just tried to kind of make it all make sense, you know, in its own universe.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that was a lot of fun. And that was always the nice outlet, you know, because like you said, it wasn't, you know, until recently when it became, you know, it's real now, right? It's right here. Like
Yeah.
it's in our hands. Issue 1 is done, and you know, he's got issue 3 and 4 coming. So
Amazing. It's such
it's
an
just,
amazing feeling. You know what I mean?
yeah.
To take something that was nothing,
Mhm.
put it on paper, and then bring it to
Yeah.
fruition. To hold
Yeah.
it in your hand. It's an
Yeah.
amazing feeling.
It was tough, but at the end of the day, I dealt with that for a couple years, and I didn't know what to do with it, and I still can't deal with it. Like, it's hard.
Yeah.
Like I said, right, like you can see right now, it's visceral. Some days I can talk about it, some days I can't. But I was like, you know what, I'm gonna make a video game. And so I modeled everyone in 3D, all the characters. I went through this whole thing, and then this was like early 2023. I had all the entire cast. I was starting to build environments and everything, and I
Cool.
stopped and I was like, oh damn, this is a lot of work. Like, I was like, because, and at that point in time, Joe and Roy had put out their first couple. Which one was it first, Joe? It was
It was just, we just did the one. It was just How to Hunt a Hero #0, which was another comic we had worked on since college, you know. And because we were all stuck at home, Roy was like, hey, do you want to actually try it, like, finally? Because we had so many, you know, false starts, I guess you could say. It used to be, it could be a web comic, it could be a graphic novel. I even researched some how to do cartoon scripts, so there's like 9 cartoon scripts that exist for it. But finally we were just like, let's just put something out. We learned about Comics Wellspring. We were
Yes.
like, their lowest count page is an 8-page comic. Let's just do
Yep.
that and not worry, you know, like, just fit it. And that's what we did. Sold it to family and friends, you know, so like 150 copies, and we were good. And then we were like, okay, we're gonna do it again. And then, you know, Jesse, you know, I guess you could say the comic bug bit him, and he was like, yeah, let's, you know, like he said, he started trying to see if he was going to do it with the 3D models, which actually
Yeah.
ended up being a cool thing in retrospect for him, because now he uses those same models to show the artists that he hired
Yeah.
you
This
know,
is
how to
what your
place the
characters look
characters.
like.
And
Amazing.
you know,
Yeah.
he gets to do that. I have the little posable figure. That's how I show my
Cool.
my artist how to
Now,
do it. But
before we talk some more, there's some great questions coming from the chat that I want to tackle. So Carrie wanted to know, Jesse, that you've actually worked on Borderlands, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And that, did you design any of the claptraps? That's what she wants to know.
The Claptraps, no, that's my Max and his team.
Gotcha.
I do a lot of high level art management and artwork on Borderlands, but my main role at Gearbox is as an art outsource manager, which means that I travel around the world, I find the best artists and I bring them back, and I help
Wow.
manage all of that. But I do art direction on all our DLCs and external projects. Like, the last one that I did was art direction on Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, the DLC for that. So I was the art director. I had my artists, and we were creating the characters, and I helped write the story and did a lot of concept work and 3D work and all that stuff on that. And now I'm doing on another project I can't really talk about just yet.
I love Tiny Tina's Wonderland. My husband made me play at the same time so we could unlock some of the things. And my favorite part was when we were shooting the bloomps. I don't know if they're actually called bloomps, but that's those big flying bubbles. Like, that was our favorite part, and it would make our kids laugh when we shot the bloomps and they exploded. All right, what's the next? Joe, what comic made you want to create your own? She wants to know because she's been pestering Pops, and so she just figured she would ask you.
Oh, you know, I kind of had a very similar experience growing up like Jesse did, you know, growing up with Image Comics and whatnot. You know, like he was mentioning, Wildstorm, which was Jim Lee's company, is the one that I followed until, you know, he sold it to DC. And I've just always liked the medium. You know, I was always trying to think like, what's the oldest comic I can think of that it was my first. I want to say it was probably like the Return of the Jedi Marvel, like 4-issue adaptation of that movie, because that's the oldest comic I can think of. The first one that just showed me that comics were more than kid stuff was I think it's like Detective Comic 606. It's just a random comic sometime after Jason Todd got killed,
Oh.
and it just shows like the ghostly image of Robin like pointing an accusatory finger at Batman, and he's like in front of the grave. Now, mind you, I grew up watching like Super Friends and stuff, so I'm like, wait a minute, what the hell happened to Robin?
Yeah, what the heck?
And then I find out, oh, that's not even Dick Grayson. And so that was like the Pandora's
You're
box.
like, what have I missed?
Yeah. So that was my turning point of when I was like, I'm not just going to casually read comics, I'm actually going to collect them. And then so that was obviously a good time because Image was right around the corner at that point, and just the creativity, regardless of, obviously people have all their different opinions of the quality and whatnot compared to nowadays. But the point is it was like, I love Jesse's saying of it was unbridled creativity. It was just like, let's just put it out and see if it's, how it's accepted. And so for us, our comic is the one that Roy and I worked on was, one that we came up in college. And then even, after I met my wife, and we were able to have our own comic and game shop, and we came up with our own little mascot for that. So now I have a comic that I do with my wife too. So between the three of us, that was always the like, why did I want to do it? Well, because each of them is tied to somebody special in my life. It's like, I get to do TeenStrike with Jesse, I get to do How to Hunt a Hero with Roy, and I get to do Malia Mayhem with my wife. So it's like, it's just fun. And even people have asked me, like, when we owned the shop, the idea of making my own comic never came up because I was too busy trying to figure out how to sell other comics, because they're in business. And it's just funny that it never came up until after we'd already sold it, and after, time had passed and I met different people and learned that the indie comic scene was even achievable, So that's probably a long answer, Carrie, but that's usually what I do.
Good answer. I like it. So I took it down. When do you anticipate this will launch for TeenStrike?
We're looking at March.
Okay.
Mid-March.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So hit that notification. Notify me on launch, everybody. So that way, when it does launch, you will get an email that just says TeenStrike number 3 has launched, and you can go take a look and go shopping and support. I love how everyone's answer is so different. When I ask a lot, say Spider-Man, Thor, and some say X-Men, it's cool when someone says a different comic or artist inspired them. And for me, it was Who Watches the Watchmen. I was an adult when I got into comics, and that one, I was never really into superheroes. I always thought it was, very obvious and very blatant good versus evil. And it was like, when I read Who Watches the Watchmen, it was like, this is different. Everybody is three-dimensional. You know what I mean? Like, they have real problems. And it's like they took the only superhero and made him less human. You know what I mean? Where it's like Dr. Manhattan didn't even care about humans anymore. And it's like, when you have so much power, what happens? So there was so much to read into it. And there were so many moving parts, especially with like the pirate story that the kid was reading at the newsstand, and so much to read into. I was just like, this is a medium that we could do so much with. And I didn't even think about making comics until my husband read my script and was like, this is a comic. Because I had pictured it as a movie. So
you never know. It could be one day.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. I don't know. People have to get a little bit further for it, I think. But and not like we haven't had anything big happen or anything in the story, blew up the entire world.
Watchmen is a really good one for me as well, because I grew up with all the traditional superheroes and everything like that, and I love a good superhero story. I love a good space cops kind of story. But it wasn't until I started getting into anime back in the 90s when I realized that this stuff could be a lot more complex than just what it is at face value, right? Like anime, of course, in this country, we're just taught that it's just for kids. But I was watching like Ghost in the Shell and Ninja Scroll and all that stuff. Obviously not for kids.
Me too, dude. Those are my favorite. That's what got me in the door. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I got excited.
And it's just that whole thing, right? Like for me, I have a really when it comes to hard sells, sometimes I find that TeenStrike can be kind of a hard sell because when I'm at conventions, some of the people there are looking for superhero books, and I'm like,
Yeah.
well, I'm like I always say, I go, yeah, this is a superhero book. I go, but it's really about having anxiety. What's it like to have that first love? What's it like to see all your friends bickering and arguing and trying to help them like come together for a common goal? Like honestly, the superheroics is just a way to move everything. It's kind of like Walking Dead, right? Like it's all
Yes.
about the way people interact, and the zombies provide the MacGuffin to push the story along and move them into interesting things. And that's kind of like what this is too.
I'm glad you said that because I've said that before too, where I'm like, it's just a MacGuffin. It's just like the
Yeah,
zombies show up and create a problem, which then creates, the thing for the actual story. But the story is not the zombies.
and
Mhm.
there's nothing wrong with that either. It's a very interesting story because
Mhm.
like when you really take a look at it, the zombies are literally in any zombie media, and then maybe there's an exception or two. They're the most boring part of that story because what's the story? There is no story behind zombie, right? You can't make a whole movie about zombie. You got to have something else happening around that
Yeah.
zombie or whatever. And even
Unless
even
you're
when you
in
did,
my book, then you can.
well, no, I was just saying, in the couple exceptions, like iZombie or whatever, like the couple exceptions where it is about the zombie, sure, but
Yeah.
like a zombie outbreak, it's always fun. Oh, that's how the zombie outbreak happens. But what does everyone talk about? How do we survive? What's our zombie escape plan? Like that's the interesting stuff. And that's the same thing with superheroes. I feel like it's
Sorry,
been
you just
done so
pushed a really
much,
big button of mine.
and it's like with superheroes, it's like so much has already been done. Am I going to sit here and just tell another superhero story? It's like
And I
no.
think that is so hard when people release new superheroes. It's like, oh, another flyer, another strong
Yeah.
guy. You know what I mean? How do you do something different in that
Yeah,
genre?
and so at that point, it's like, well, don't focus on that, right? Like, yeah, it's cool. They got powers. Like in TeenStrike, yeah, they got powers. Cool. Yeah, one's the strong guy, one's the energy guy, one's the telepath, whatever, right? Like that's the
Right?
typical dynamics of a successful team. But that's not necessarily why I'm writing it,
Yeah.
or that's not necessarily the story I want. I'm basically making a comic that I wish that I had when I was growing up, which was to tell me that I'm not alone, right? Like that's
Thank
the
you.
biggest
All
thing.
right. Now that's the meat and potatoes of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You
now
need
that I'm
stuff for
composed,
kids.
I can keep talking about it, like,
Sorry.
because it's always hard talking about Jerry's passing. Like that's always going to be tough for me. But when I realized that this thing was going to be too difficult to make as a game for myself, like for me just doing it by myself, and it was going to be very expensive. Games are very expensive. I
Yeah.
looked up, and up there I had Joe and Roy's comic. They autographed it for me, and I have it displayed there. And I looked up at it, and I was just like, "That's it! Like, I could do a comic." Because I started running down my strengths and weaknesses, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I can do a comic. I don't know why I've never thought of doing a comic, similar to like what Joe said before. It's like you get so preoccupied with all these other things that you just don't ever think about. Not saying comics are easy, but
No.
compared
No,
to a video game,
yes.
oh my god, the comics are
It's
just a joyride and just
Well,
stay in
yeah,
the
and
park
it's
for me.
like Kickstarter I feel you can be very successful running comic books through a Kickstarter campaign and get funded and have money, you know what I mean? To put towards the project. When you're doing a video game or a movie, because that's where I was too, Jesse, where I'm like, this is a movie. There isn't enough money in the world that I could Kickstarter. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm not a big enough name. I don't have Keanu Reeves attached to my project. You know what I mean? So I'm never going to make enough money to make this what it should be. But in a comic book world, I can. So I think,
yeah.
right? That's
Yeah, you
that's
let you
the
let
goal.
you let the reader do the
Oh, no.
painting, right? Of all the special effects and stuff like that. Like,
Yeah.
'cause I'm used to like $12 million budgets and stuff, and that's like nothing in the game industry. But for my department,
Can
I'm
you
used to like
imagine?
12 to $15 million budgets. And so when I look at a comic book, I'm like, I can manage that easy. Like I know exactly where every dollar is going. Like I wish my budgets were only $2,000 or something. Like that'd be easy. When you deal like with 12 million, you're just like, oh, it's
How do
such a
you
fake number. Like unless you've ever had $12 million at your disposal, it's a fake number. Like it's just $12 million is you can't fathom how much that could get you. And
Yep.
I deal with that very regularly. So suddenly I looked up and I saw the comic and I was like, oh, instead of trying to raise,
$12
even
million.
well, for the game that I was wanting to make, it's only 500,000. I was like,
Oh.
instead of trying to, it's yeah, like that's nothing.
Woo!
Yeah, that is a publisher will laugh at you if you ask for 500,000 because they won't make enough money to go to pay for their burn for a week, and it's like, oh yeah, why didn't I think of this? So then I just stopped doing that, and I was like, I'm gonna make this a comic, and it really hit the nail when our friend Roy was having a kind of a crisis, um, trying to find a motivation to continue his book and stuff, and
Yeah.
we had to talk about legacy and what that means,
Oh, this is
uh,
interesting.
because I was telling them, and I said, look, I go, not everyone needs a legacy. I go, but there are some of us that crave it, or some of us that need it, or some of us that seek it out, right? Whether it's conscious or not. Before you know it, you have a legacy. Like sometimes, like that's what I stumbled into. I have a legacy. As again, if you allow me to brag a little, I have a legacy. I've worked on some games where it's my 100% designs that are being cosplayed. Like I worked on a game called Blood Rain, which is a sexy vampire game, right? Like back in
I
the
play that.
early, back in the early 2000s, right? I was a character designer and all that stuff, comic character artist,
Right?
and so
Amazing.
a lot of those sexy vampire girls and stuff like that. It's been 18, well, yeah, actually, it's almost been 20 years now. And they're still cosplaying my designs out in Eastern Europe and Russia and all that stuff, because that's where it hit. That game hit real big in that part of the world, and so it's really an interesting feeling. That brand hasn't been active in decades almost. No new content, at least. They've done remakes, but no new content. And I still, every 3 months, every 3 to 4 months, there's a new Russian Eastern European cosplayer that puts out a cosplay of my design. And it's insane, because in that area of the world, something that I drew, like I doodled and I was like, whatever, it just dicking around, like, has become an entry level, like, must cosplay for any cosplayer that wants to be taken seriously. They have to do the Blood Rain dress or the Blood Rain default outfit. And those are, and when I say entry level, I don't mean that they're easy to make. I mean, like, if you want to be taken seriously, you have to have that in your portfolio. And so every 3 or 4 months, like I'll post in the chat sometimes. I'm like, hey, check it out, some new art, some new cosplays or whatever like that into our personal chats. And it's like, that's my legacy. Everything that I've done, Ghostbusters, Borderlands, all that stuff that I've contributed to and done all that, that's my legacy. When I die, that's gonna outlive me. If someone's interested, they can say, who did this? And they'll find me. They'll find my IMDb. They'll find, wiki pages and stuff based on me and all that stuff. And they'll be like, wow, and they'll learn about me. I go, to some people, legacy could be assets. They could be houses. It could be money to pass on to your kids. It could be your kids. It could be all these different things. But it's important that in our journey through life that we decide and we figure out what this legacy is if we want to build and work towards it. I go, look at our friend Jerry. I'm like, he passed away. I go, he lived such a humble life. He didn't have a legacy. And, maybe that was cool with him. We all thought he was an amazing friend. And you know what? I go, after we die, he's gone. Like, no one is going to remember him. Right. And I'm like, that's the same thing that's going to happen to us and to any one of us, unless we build a legacy for ourselves, if we want to be remembered. I go, so that suddenly I was like giving advice, but then I started like listening to myself, and I was just like, yeah, that's why I need to do this. Right. That's what started the whole comic thing. Was I was like, man, I have such amazing friends. Like, my best friend, we've been friends for just over 30 years. Roy and I, now on 30 years. Joe and I were going on 20, 25, 26 years. I've had these friends for decades and decades, and they're all amazing people. And I'm like, how do I tell people how amazing my friends are? And so I went back and I revisited the idea, and this is an idea that was stuck in the 90s, and it was all that. So I'm like, I'm going to evolve this, and I'm going to include not just my high school years, but my early college years. And then I just mashed my friends together. I made a new team dynamic, friend dynamic. Like Joe's in this story. We never went to high school together, but when we read it, and even like Joe has commented on it a couple times, he's just like, it feels right. Like we did go to high school together. It's like we're gaslighting ourselves into believing that we went to high school together, because I always believe gaslighting is an awful thing, but it could be very powerful when it comes to like these kind of like positive moments and stuff where you can read and get into a story and you just gaslit yourself, and you're just like, you create false memories in your head and false joy, like, wow, Joe is having a good time with the friends, right? And it just feels right, feels like a memory, right?
That's funny.
And that's why I'm doing the book, is to honor my friends in general, Jerry being the catalyst that set it all off, and the one that made us realize, like, oh shit, I can, and shit you not, like, I could walk out in the middle of the street and get hit by a car. Why? Because I was in San Francisco at GDC and I was following the rules. The light came on, I stepped out, I heard someone gun it. Someone was making a right and they didn't look at the pedestrian crossing, and they hit me. I went over the car and everything. I landed in the street. Thank God cars stopped everything. I was bleeding and everything.
Oh my God.
And I was kind of like thinking about it, and I was like, wow, well, one, you know, F that car, right? It's Jesse 1, car 0. Like I can, like, I'm, as far as I'm concerned, I am a superhero. I have super strength. I am vulnerable, and cars
is a superpower for him.
Cars aren't my weaknesses. Unfortunately, sugar
Your nemesis is a BMW.
My nemesis is my glucose fucking levels. That's what that is.
Darn it!
Yeah, carbs.
And
no,
carbs.
but you know, that really was like, hey, we can die at any moment.
Yes.
Luckily, with my career, I can sit back and say, like, that's fine. I've done enough. You know, like I don't have these things that I'm still trying to achieve other than the comic now. But there's not a lot of people that can say that, and it's a scary thought, man. When it happens, it's just like, wow, it could die.
What is that saying? It's like no one wakes up thinking that today is their last day.
Yeah, never. And with the amount that I travel, like all these recent airplane crashes, I'm just like, well,
say it, Jesse. No.
But, well, I don't let it stop me. That's the thing, is like a lot of people, they ask me these questions like, how do you do all this crazy stuff? I'm like, well, I've never let anything stop me, right? If I want something, I just go do it, because no one's gonna live my life but myself, and I can't make anyone make me successful reasonably. Like, granted, you can talk to a millionaire and you can talk them into giving you their money, sure, but at the same time, like, it's not the same, but at the same time, you did that. You talked them into giving, you know, like,
yeah, but is it
is
it considered earned if you convince someone to give you wealth as opposed to going out?
It's all the same as it hits my bank. Like, it's fine. I won't question it. I won't question it. If I'm taking money from a poor person, yes, I will question it. I have my morals. If I'm taking money from an ultra rich person, I don't care, whatever. But it's one of those where, you know, all jokes aside, you know, it's no one's gonna live this life but yourself. So you got to go out and do it. So you have to ask yourself about your legacy, about what you really want, what makes you happy. You might think you're happy, but are you really happy? You know, you really got to take a step back. You have to be willing to criticize yourself, and you have to be just willing to make these sacrifices to make it happen, because this stuff isn't easy. Making a comic book isn't easy. I do a lot more than this. Like, Joe can attest to this. Like, there is so much that I do. Because I also make toys and all these other things, along with making video games and everything. And it's intense, but I understand that if I'm going to do these things, I know what sacrifices I'm making, right? So luckily, you know, I have a great partner. My wife is a great partner for me. We both are independent. We love to travel the world. We do all these things that are very shared. And it's great to be able to share my life with someone like that, because without her, I don't think I'd be able to do this, because I think that any other person would be a lot. And it's not that she's demanding of her time. It's just that they would be demanding of their time in a different way that may not be the best.
Align, right? It wouldn't align with your needs as well. Yeah. And I can totally see that. You know what I mean?
Like here, I work out in my living room. I bought this gigantic couch for my wife, because she loves to lay on couches and stuff. And the TV is right here. So I'm working, I'm watching TV with her. We're commenting on stuff. You know, we're having a good time. I put the pencil down, and we go out, we go to movies, we do stuff. We travel around the world where I don't touch the comic. I do a lot of things on my own, or on our own, like, that are aside from this. But I always say, I'm like, this time has to be made up somewhere. And so there's times where she goes to sleep, I get up, I come back down, I sit down, I keep drawing,
Yep.
work. Because I don't need as much sleep as she does. And so it's just one of these things where it's like, it's going to be made up somewhere if I'm going to achieve the schedule that I want.
Yeah.
It's not easy at all.
Can you tell his coffee candy has kicked in?
I was gonna say we woke up Jesse.
Yep.
He's a
I do public
people.
speaking. I do public speaking, but all my
But
public
not
speaking is
at
at
10
night.
a.m. He doesn't do public speaking.
Right.
Anytime
Don't ask him questions before 11 a.m.
Well, at the
He's
first
awake
one of the
now.
first studios that I worked at, the common thing was like, give Jesse 2 hours. It was always that. It was just like someone would come in and my office mate would be like, hey, give him 2 hours or give him an hour. And I'd be like, what? Sorry, I don't know. I don't know these things.
Carrie says your wife is a lucky lady that you speak so fondly of her. And I mean, that's important. I speak fondly of my spouse as well. This was all his stupid idea. I always blame him when he's always like, you got another podcast? I'm like, this is your idea. But he's super supportive as well. And it's like, I know, Joe, your wife is super supportive.
Oh
as
yeah,
well.
I mean,
And
she's the inspiration for the mascot of our company, and it's her company, and she obviously, we have a son now, so kind of like Jesse was talking about, like you have to decide, like what's important now, like what's obviously I have a different legacy for my son now, and like trying to decide like how much of this are we setting up for the future, that he if he ever wants to do anything with it, it's there. If not, well. I'm not going to force that. So, but it's just like, once now that he's gotten older, I've really had to make this more part-time than it did. The pandemic, it was kind of a cheat, right? Because there was so much extra time. And now it's like, well, life has gotten back on track for us. And that's why I was joking with Jesse earlier when I was like, I was glad that he's putting, two issues in one Kickstarter, because I know he wants my help promoting and stuff. But, obviously I have some that I want to do too. And it's like, well, there's only so many months in the year. And most Kickstarters, there's 30 days. And then, so any point is that like, it's just about realizing where you are, what, because I certainly don't ever want my family to feel like they're neglected. And that's why I try to include as much as we can. Like we go to Comic-Cons, they go with me if possible, and if not, I try not to let it take up too much time. And then, so but at the same time, I do tell people it's crazy that I've been able to do comics while being married and with a child. And like, I would have thought the opposite if somebody had told me back then, oh, you're going to do this when you have, a family and a child. I'd be like, oh, I'm not going to have time for that, and there is an aspect of that, like I said, to where I truly have to treat this as part-time. The Kickstarter we're going to do here in February was supposed to come out last summer, but things happened and it got delayed, and you just kind of deal with it. Thankfully, we're not a company, that somebody's waiting for this to come out, and that's just the way it had to work out for us. But, we just keep doing it. Yeah. This is ours.
Here's the next one. Yeah.
But that's launching on February 16th. You said yours is the 1st, February 1st?
Yeah, I'm launching February 1st for
We're
path 1
definitely
through 6.
I mean, obviously, yours is R-rated and ours is all ages, but it doesn't matter. We can still share.
We can still share. You never know.
Yeah.
Because, it's like people that have, like mine, people that have kids that want stuff for their kids to read, here you go. And it's like, if you're buying stuff for your kids, but you want something for yourself, head over to Path. So we can still cross promote, and we will. Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's
Blue Cons, he's a keeper. My guy, she said, my guy supports me and also saved my vision by getting me surgery. He's the reason I can still do art.
Oh, wow.
And that's right. He's a keeper. So I also dropped the link for this one. If you guys haven't followed, you can follow this one as well, which will be what's the date we're launching this one? Joe?
February 16th.
16th. Here we go.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like I said, I've been doing Kickstarters since 2012 or whatever, way back in the day, and there's been one constant that anyone who has ever run a Kickstarter has always said, and it's like, just be prepared for it to be a second job.
Yes.
And I never took that lightly, and that's why I know I need help from Joe and stuff like that, because the amount of crazy stuff that I do, I mean, it would be impossible to do this. I remember when TeenStrike 1 and 2 went on, when we made it live, like I was suffering from imposter syndrome, you know, like heavily, like it was weighing on me. Because again, you know, I've done everything I've ever wanted to do, and I can confidently say that I've been successful in everything that I've done. And so there's always that whole fear when you do something new that you're not going to be confident, right? Whether you outward project or not. I think everyone has that fear.
Yes.
And I remember we hit live and we just started seeing it go up, right? Like it didn't like I didn't make like $100,000 or anything, but the goal was to see if this was viable, to see if people cared, you know, about this this silly comic that we made back in the 90s, to see if, you know, see what happened. And I remember when it funded and everything, I was at my wife's restaurant to pick her up, and I just started like just crying in the car because it passed, it doubled, like it kept going, and it was just like I can't believe it, like, you know, we did it, right? Like the silly little thing that we did back then, you know, like why did it have to take the death of a friend to do this, you know? And you know, we can't explain that sometimes, but I always tell Joe, like, man, we should have been doing this like so long ago. Like, I don't know what stopped us. It really
it's always that fear of not living life to its fullest. And I completely understand the legacy as well. It was something on my mind as well. I was like, I have this story. I would love for people to read it. And then in a way, a piece of me lives forever, you know, as long as that person picks up this book and is like, who's Laurie Calcaterra? You know, as long as your name is on someone's thoughts and maybe in their mouth, then it's like a piece of you lives forever. On a happier note, I want to play you guys a silly video about what it feels like, you know, to run a Kickstarter, because we're all looking down the barrel of the Kickstarter game. And of course, my friend Corissa is running it right now. She is always running a Kickstarter, I feel like, but she still goes through the same imposter that we all do. But here's this. I just want to, it'll cheer us all up. Ready? Hold on. I think I'm bleeding. Am I bleeding? Ah! 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 Nose and lips! Okay, ow. Ah! Can I... Ow! 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 Wait! Ow! 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 Please, Mr. Oh!
Hey, that's funny. That's exactly what Jesse did to me when he asked me to run the Kickstarter. He's like, "Are you going to run it now, Joe? Are you going to run it now?"
It is your second part-time job. Like it's insane how that world is. But I mean, what I think this goes back to an earlier comment that you had. Like, what
Jesse's awake now. Where have you been, Ryan?
It's like, are we forever destined to be on Kickstarter? And it's weird because Kickstarter kind of has accepted the fact that they're a pre-order platform for comics, but not for anything else. Like, it's still under legal terms. This is you're investing in an idea kind of thing. But I remember way back in the day, there was a lot of debate, and I'd say this is like back in 2014, 2015, on whether it was a pre-order platform or if it was an actual like kickstarting platform, because the video game industry was going down that path where people were putting ideas out there for Kickstarters, but then there was other people that were putting their pre-orders out there. They were just like, oh, this game's pretty much done. Just give us money and you'll get all these different things. And there was a big debate, people fighting back and forth, but it seems like the comic industry has kind of just fallen into the pre-order platform for it.
Well, I mean, it kind of it happened that way because of what Jesse mentioned earlier, too many people getting burned. And so, like, you know, if you did, I honestly can't think of one that I've seen in a while. I mean, I feel like to the most I've seen people say, oh, well, it just needs to be lettered, or, you know, like the pages are done, but, or maybe it needs to be colored. But like, I have not seen a true Kickstarter of here's the idea, here's the.
Oh, I'm close. because we
Yeah.
usually produce 4 pages. We produce
Mhm.
fully inked, colored, and lettered pages, but
Oh,
then we
okay.
Kickstarter and then produce the rest.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
No,
that's
yeah, way back in the
no
day,
way.
it was like literally only an idea.
Yeah,
Like
that's
I was part of
different.
one.
Yeah.
I was part of one that failed, and the dude ran away with all that money and stuff. Like it wasn't my idea, but they contracted me to work on it, to
Yeah.
make some 3D art for it, and it was through a friend. And we had a huge falling out with that owner guy because I kind of saw the writing on the wall what was going to happen because he had never ever led anything like that. And I was like, this is stupid. He's making a lot of bad decisions. And I saw him wasting a lot of money. And so we washed our hands of it. And sure enough, he never delivered it. But
Oh,
it was just like an idea. And he suckered so well. I, allegedly, right? Like it's one of those where
allegedly.
yeah, I would like to believe that he didn't go into it being like, I'm going to scam these people, because when I would talk to him, yeah, he was so narcissistic that he just could not accept that he was doing something incorrectly. So when
Doing
we were
things
trying to like
wrong.
say, hey, you know, like you
Dial
shouldn't be
back.
spending money on this and that, he wouldn't listen. And
Do
sure
they
enough,
not
it failed.
create see, and that's the thing is, do you have a background in finance? Do you create a budget, and do you understand, the money that you need in order to produce? And if you make more than that, then yeah, spend it within reason, but don't spend the money on art production on stupid merch that no one's going to buy. You know what I
Well,
mean?
oh
Make
yeah,
it
no,
common.
no doubt. If you want a fun one, just go look up City of Titans, right? Like City of Titans, I used to be a big City of Heroes player back in the day, with Joe. And then when they shut down City of Heroes, there was no superhero MMO really available that was like
Yeah.
that. So a bunch of fans were like, "Oh, we'll just make an MMO," and I'm like, "Yeah, okay, we'll just make an MMO." One of the most difficult things to make in the video game industry
Sounds
ever.
terrible. Yeah.
That costs at the time World of Warcraft was like an 80 to 100 million dollar project, and that's in like early 2000s googly money, right? Not in
Right.
our awful egg money now, but
Right.
it's and so it's one of those where they made a whole Kickstarter. They raised $100,000, and they were like, we're gonna make it. And all my 3D friends and game industry friends, we gave like $1, because at the time you had to give $1 to even see comments and stuff like that. So we would give $1 just to see the comments and try and guide them, because we're like, you guys, they're like, we bought 3D mice, and we're like, who the hell uses a 3D mouse? Just buy a mouse. And they're like, oh, we bought this and that, and they had never made a game before. And you know what? City of Titans is still not made,
Unfulfilled.
but they're still dragging people along, being like, oh, we just got a character
yeah.
creator, and this was 2011, like,
You're like, and the money has been long gone.
oh,
Long gone, you guys.
the money was long
Who
gone
you-
within a year.
Who are you lying to? There ain't no
Yeah.
game coming. George R. R. Martin, yeah, you and him are still in production. Mhm.
Who's gonna finish first, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it's a race.
We're all gonna be dead. That's what's gonna happen.
And so I watch, and I'll do a shout out, but I watch this Slopes game room, and they do a series called Kick Scammers. And if you ever want to just laugh at the absurdity or be angry at some of this stuff, go watch Kick Scammers on YouTube, on Slopes Game Room. And it is an amazing series where he goes through, and he covered the one that I worked on too. Yeah, because it was that bad. Like it was bad. I don't know. Okay, well, fuck it. Whatever. I'll say
Jesse's
it.
having PTSD.
No. I'm trying to decide if I should say some stuff. So, but I got some tea that I can give to the people here. Right? We're not putting this on the internet, right? Okay.
No, not at all. No, you're
Only
totally
Laurie's-
safe.
This is-
only Laurie's living room.
Yeah, this is it
Currently
right
on
here.
the internet. Right.
No, but that guy, there was an opportunity that happened that I almost worked with him again, because through some publishing stuff like that, like it was, and I was like, wait a minute. I was like, who works there? And they gave me a list of people. I'm like, no, that
I'm
guy
out.
works there. I sent them all the YouTube links and stuff. Suddenly he didn't work there anymore, because when you are, when you affect people who do care about, have more, like, yeah, I flex my power, and that sucks. But at the same time, I was like, if
I don't want to. I would do the same.
This is
It's
bad
like, I don't want
publicity.
to be involved with this person who didn't fulfill and didn't do what they said they were going to do, why would you ever sign up to be on another project with that person?
Yeah, and it was at the end of the day in corporate America, no matter where you work, you are a number. I mean, well, there's exceptions, but
Yes.
basically you're a number. And so it was very telling where it was like, oh, they obviously valued the contract more than having that specific employee. And so
Yeah.
it was just like, you're gone.
Bye.
It looked like, I mean, the timing was sus. I don't know, what happened there, but suddenly I was like, hey, I thought we weren't going to, I thought, I gave a heads up and then they gave me the employee list again. I was like, oh, I see.
You just got a big line scratched through it.
Yeah,
But I mean, it's a small industry, whether it's comics or games, and you just don't know who's on the other end. It's scary. But it's so I never try and do it to Kickstarter unless I know I can 100% fulfill it. And so anyone here, now that we're back on the internet, anyone here, they should feel confident that we will be finishing TeenStrike, unless there's like another rematch of the car and it doesn't go in my favor. But
I didn't predict it, so it's not happening. I'll just put it.
But my planning is it's 3 arcs, but this first arc will be done in spring of quarter 2. I'm gonna say quarter two of 2026. Considering that issue 4 is probably about 90% done, so that should be done before the end of the month. Cool. And then issue 5, I'm coloring it right now, and that one's halfway done. Issue 6, we just started on issue 6. I already laid out all the storyboards for that, and then 7 and 8, I'll have all those storyboarded and started on before the end of the year.
So how many 8 issue total for the arc?
For this first arc, I always get confused because I combine the first 2 issues, and that always throws me off. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's 8 issues for this first arc. And this is a complete story. You don't need to go beyond this. So it's 8 issues. It ends on a cliffhanger, on an epilogue that will be kind of like, hey, it could potentially keep going. But that's also a jumping off point. But it also provides a jumping on point for other people, because the second arc is 9 issues because it's 1 extra issue. So it's 9 issues. And then the last story arc, which I'm currently writing right now, I predict that one's going to be less. That one will probably be 6, maybe 6 with 1 gigantic issue at the end, or 7, depending on how I'm splitting them up. And then it's done. So we're looking at like 20, 24 or so issues in total. I'm gonna be like,
I get it. I'm there too. So it's like, it's a lofty idea, but it's like every time you turn out an issue, it's like, we're 1 step closer.
What else am I gonna do, right? What else am I gonna do? Right? Buy more games. I don't know. What else am I gonna do? Right.
Right.
I'm lucky. Like Joe points out. Like I'm fortunate enough that I have time, and that's a big thing, right? With enough time. What is it? It's with enough time. Either with enough time, with enough money, or with enough. Well, forget. There's like 3 things, and you can pick 2, right? And
it's like quality, time, and.
Yeah, there's another one on the production side of things where it's like, and it's like
money,
with
time,
several of those things.
See, Carrie,
it's probably
skill.
Can you highlight Carrie's comment there?
Oh, what was that?
Where she says, "Wow." See, that's okay, Carrie, because I didn't explain my role when we first came on here. I'm Jesse's handler. I'm on here, so if he says anything, I'm supposed to digitally cover his mouth and like cut him off. There's a pull the plug. No, seriously though, this was supposed to be TeenStrike and like focusing on. That's why I didn't talk about our book too much, because it was supposed to be focused on TeenStrike.
But they go together. I mean,
yes,
you guys,
they do.
You do your own thing, but your friends, your colleagues.
I'm the jelly. He's the peanut butter.
Yeah,
I get it. But
as a matter of fact,
no, don't tell that story. Don't tell any peanut butter and jelly stories.
No.
But on March 11th, see, now I'm going to promote for myself. On March 11th, we're going to be celebrating the 11th anniversary of our company here on this show, Carrie, and that's when I will be on, and I can talk as much as you want.
Live fire, no violence. Violence is not the answer. It is the question, and the answer is usually yes. But
I was going to say, as far as like us working together and stuff, like in TeenStrike, like they're making a comic that used to be what How to Hunt a Hero was, you know. So it used to be called Average Joe, and so I love that idea so much that I'm making my characters create the comic inside the story.
That's hilarious.
Fun stuff. But
Everything
yeah, no,
comes full circle.
I am a public speaker, but I speak it in the evenings when I am awake. But yeah, if you let me talk, I will talk. Don't get me wrong.
I answered that. Violence is not it is the question. Violence is the question. The answer is yes. And yeah, you just take it out on, objects and not people. We don't smash people. We smash jackfruits with googly eyes. That is all. I have a peanut butter and jelly story for you, Joe. Women thought you Americans put Koepp on your peanut butter. What?
Oh, isn't that the abbreviation for Kentucky?
Oh, Kentucky Fried Jelly.
Yeah.
Peanut butter. What?
I mean,
I also want to try those coffee candy. I know you have started a new trend, Jesse, and we're all going to be eating coffee candies. And
I was going to mention that they do make flavored KY and edible KY. Like it's a thing you can consume it. The problem is, like, can you hold the sandwich in your hands, or it will be like flipping
it
around?
just falls apart.
See, now Laurie's gonna pull the plug on you. I don't have to do it.
Yeah, I'll be like la 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 la.
And he's gone.
Oh, trust me, I can get off subject real easy.
Shiny things. We're doing the shiny things now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here I'm gonna post two versions of this coffee candy.
All right.
The first one is my favorite. Oh, I've joined the chat. The first one is my favorite. Oh, connected. I have to connect to.
What are you doing? Just hold them up to the camera. I'll make you giant. Look.
Here. There's that link. They can go to Amazon.
I don't see it.
Use my code. I put it in the private chat because I can't.
Oh, in the private chat. In the private. Wow. I'm gonna do something here. Give me a second.
A tiny URL.
Yeah, that thing's nuts. So I'm just gonna share screen.
Be sure to use the code Jesse20 to get 20% off your first order.
Jesse20.
Is that a real thing? I mean,
no. No one.
There you go.
I mean, try it. Maybe. Who knows?
They're like, I have a coupon. It's Jesse20, and all of a sudden you get like $5,000 of credit. Like,
nice.
How did that happen?
No, I swear by these things. I love them. It's I used to eat these things all the time when I was living in Brazil.
136 pieces in one bag.
He's already gone through all of them.
Yeah, actually, this is my last one. But those are the hard candies. These are the soft ones. I prefer the hard candies, but these are the soft ones. So I work a lot with artists and stuff in Brazil. So whenever they come, they always bring me a bunch of candies and stuff. So I'm always constantly stocked. My wife's Brazilian as well. That's where we met.
Yeah.
And so I'm constantly you're in the area. You're in the area. If you ever want, just let me know, and I can treat you guys at my wife's Brazilian steakhouse here. It's right next to Stonebriar.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, you heard that right, Laurie.
Your wife has a Brazilian steakhouse.
Well, she works at one.
Oh, she works at it. Okay, I was
I
like,
wish. Man, I mean,
next to Stonebriar.
if she owned a Brazilian steakhouse, man,
I would be there every day. Like, I know the owner.
I would be a trophy husband.
You're like, I'm here for the beef.
I'm just here to look pretty, is what I am.
Right? Human version of those candies would probably kill you, or you'll access the Speed Force. Cool. I want to access the Speed Force. I need a UK shop. Oh, Carrie.
I had to do research on these things because there was a point in time where I was just like, okay, gotta get this done. And I was like, how many? Because I was just like popping them like pills. And I was like, oh no.
Safe to consume. What does it have a warning on it? Like you should not eat more than 6 in 24 hours.
No, there's caffeine in there, but it would take like 30 to equal a cup of coffee.
Challenge accepted.
It's like one gram or less than a gram of caffeine.
So eat 60 is what you're saying.
But they are so delicious. Like I take it from a non-coffee drinker. The taste is.
I just said I was the handler. I didn't say I could actually affect anything.
Shiny things.
No,
oh my god!
Do
You
it.
know what? You know what time it is? It's actually time to wrap up the show.
It is.
What?
I know it always goes by so quick. Everybody's like 2 hours, but then you get on the show and we always have a freaking blast.
Mhm.
And it just flies
Just
by.
want to know, did we sell more candy or comic books?
Comic.
You know,
I think
those,
it's probably 50-50.
those do fit in a Gemini mailer, so you can't offer them. As
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
stretch goal.
I do ship to the UK too, by the way. I ship
There you
everywhere. I don't
go.
care where.
Well,
you go,
drop her
Karen.
that link because she buys stuff from the UK.
I'm just
I would-
saying, sign up for TeenStrike number 3, and the stretch goal is going to be get a free piece of coffee candy in your Gemini mailer. Come on, Jesse, you know you want to. I
might be
mean, I send
Yeah.
people free samples of hot sauce. You can do it.
I mean, I can guarantee that every package that I send out has free cat hair all over it. That's one guarantee.
That's not what we
Yeah.
want. We don't want cat hair.
I don't know. My cat's
Lame.
awesome. But yeah,
Rocky
I
likes
know,
the
it's
cat
that
hair.
time.
yeah,
No cat
it's a
hair.
bonus. You're not paying for it. It's
Rocky
free.
likes the cat hair. He's happy with that. He
It adds to
sniff
the
all
weight of
over
the
box.
package.
It gives him something to do.
Nah.
See, his shipping
Nah.
wouldn't be so expensive if it wasn't for the cat hair, because it weighs down the package.
Oh, is that why it's so
Yeah.
expensive to ship to Canada because of the cat hair?
Hmm.
Well, guys, it's that time. Tell people where they can follow you. I know. Tell people where they can follow you. And of course, we want everybody to go follow TeenStrike number 3. We want people to follow where to go. Malia Mayhem number 1. Do. Make sure you're following these guys. As you can see, I saved this one. I haven't saved the other one yet. I try not to do it while I'm on the air because I get in trouble.
Look up Joe and Jesse both on Facebook.
Yeah.
Follow them. Stay in touch with what they're doing because they do good stuff.
Thank you,
That's a
Pops. Always
freaking
appreciate you.
Thank you.
But
Yeah.
Gabe and Isaac love TeenStrike. Number 2, I think I got number 2. I still need number 1
Yeah, you're doing it out of
Yeah.
order. What the heck?
because it was the campaign, the last one
Yeah.
they put out. And we were promoting it, and Isaac
Yeah.
said, "I want that," and I ordered
Okay.
that. You know,
You
Oh.
got it.
Yeah, I'll
sometimes
definitely
the
want to
kids chime
jump
in, they
on.
say, "I want that," and we got to provide. You know, it's a grandparent's job. Provide.
Yeah, man.
give them those comics. I mean, you got to, right? Like, give them all the options, let them choose what they like, and
Yeah.
Well, it's like we were saying earlier. You gotta put some stuff out here for the younger generation if you want them to grow into adult that buys comics.
Right.
Mhm.
You know, you got to give them something now. You got to you got to prime the pump, right? You got to kindle the fire.
Gotta
You
give
gotta
them
get
those
going
candy
early.
cigarettes. Oh, wait, no. That's the wrong thing. Don't do that.
No, coffee candy, Laurie. Coffee
Just
candy.
kidding. Just kidding.
Not cigarette candy, coffee.
Do they have candy vapes yet? I bet you.
Oh
they
my
do.
gosh, there's your Kickstarter idea. Get away
Terrible.
from-
Let's not do that. Let's ban those forever. But
Lori, I want a good look at that shirt. I want to see that shirt. Oh,
everybody.
it's the slash. Look, it's Big James.
It's
The
the Big
slash.
James slash.
in
This
color.
is actually James Sabova that's in this wonderful James. Was like, if you make a black shirt with Big James on it, that's what I want. And so this is what I did. People ask, I make it. That's how it works. When
Mhm.
people are like, I want a 3D printed Big Boy James, okay, we're making those. It's just how it goes. You get what you want.
Carrie, go there. Go to that link right there, Carrie, and you can get your coffee candy. Just go to that link right there.
My friends, we gotta wrap
not-
up.
I'll send them to you with the Kickstarter.
There you go. See, I talked him into it. You heard it here first. Stretch
Mhm.
goal, coffee candy, TeenStrike number 3.
I should
I'm
do
looking
that.
forward to it. I want my coffee candy. All right, guys. This is the part of the show where I tell everybody to be excellent to each other and kiss your babies. And I'll see you all next week. Next week is Chris Roberts. Lauren Roberts, better second half. No, she's the better half. Let's be honest. Makes nerdy furniture and hosts a podcast about movies, which is super cool, which
Nice.
I've been on.
What?
So, what? Makes
About
nerdy
what?
furniture. Movies.
Okay.
Movies. It's called Movie Smash. I've been on there.
We seem to have problems with movies, with movie streams on our channel.
But they don't show any footage. They just talk about it.
It shouldn't even matter. I mean,
It shouldn't matter when it's a trailer, but
Yeah.
Anyway, tune in next week. We're also going to talk about nerdy furniture like game tables and consoles and crazy stuff that Chris can do with his garage wood shop. It's insane. I've seen some of the stuff. It's nuts. Tune in and check it out. See you all next week.
Thanks for watching.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Click on the tube and feel the vibe. Every show you crave right here live. Heroes and villains clash in the night. Madness Comic Network sets it right. Scroll through the list, find what you need. Epic battles and fast-paced speed. From capes to cosmic space delight. Tune in and watch your favorites ignite. On Facebook, share the thrill so grand. On X, the buzz across the land. Madness Comic Network all around. In every episode, joy is found. Uploads, they never end. Superheroes and their friends. Catch every twist and every turn. Madness Comic, you will yearn. Stay up to date with every twist. Madness Comic, don't miss a gist. From laughter to tears, every mood. Madness Comic sets the groove. Click that button and subscribe. Catch the wave and ride the tide. Join the fun, join the craze. Madness Comic brightens days. Hey! New uploads, they never end. Superheroes and their friends. Catch every twist and every turn. Madness Comic, you will yearn. Stay up to date with every twist. Madness Comic, don't miss a gist. From laughter to tears, every mood. Madness Comic sets the groove. Click that button and subscribe.